Rook.
I'm Marigrace Alonso.
Alright, and we have chapter 6. This is Harry and Rosemary Wong. Okay, and the Wongs believe that classroom behavior and learning lies in two things, which are clarifying the responsibilities of teachers and students, and also teaching the procedures students are expected in class. The Wongs believe that teachers allow students to practice procedures, then misbehavior fades away, which allows more time for teaching to take place in the classroom. The Wongs also believe that the main problem in teaching is not poor discipline, but poor classroom management. They believe that responsibilities clarify what everyone is supposed to do, and that effective teachers spend most of the first 2 weeks teaching students to follow classroom procedures. And what you do on the first day actually determines how the rest of your year will play out. A little bit about the Wongs. Harry is now an educational speaker and consultant. He previously taught science at the middle level and high school level. He has received many awards for being such an outstanding teacher. And Rosemary, his wife, taught grades K through 8. She's chosen as one of California's first mentor teachers and has also received many awards. She's the CEO of her and Harry's publishing company. And they wrote a book which was called The First Days of School, and it has sold almost 4 million copies, making it the best-selling educational book of all time. They also produced a video series titled The Effective Teacher, and it won the Gold Award in the International Film and Video Festival as the best educational staff development in the video. And I'm going to show you their website that they have real quick, which if you want to write this down, you can. If not, it's on page 102 in your textbook. I really like their website. It shows their announcements, and which I thought this was really cool. It's their teacher quiz, and they created this, and you, after reading their book and a little bit about their beliefs, you take it to see if basically you would be a successful teacher. So one of the questions is, scatter questions throughout the lesson or chapter rather than placed at the end. Does anyone believe if that's true or false? If not, then we kind of go over this, I think, a little bit later. Does anyone have that?
Sure.
It's true? Okay, that's right. So I thought it was really neat, so you can go look back at that. Okay. And the Wongs also believe it's crucial that students understand your responsibilities as well as understanding their responsibilities in the classroom. This kind of goes along with cancer and cancer, as you mentioned earlier. They believe that you need to tell your students what your role as a teacher is, and here are some things you can tell your students. Your role is to treat you with respect and care as an individual, provide you an orderly classroom environment, provide the necessary discipline, provide the appropriate motivation, and also teach you the required content.
And then going along with that, as a teacher, our responsibilities to the students would be for them to treat us with respect and care as an individual, for them to attend class regularly, to be cooperative and not disruptive, to study and do their work well, and to learn and master the content that is being taught. Classroom and procedures, the single most important factor is the learning, not the discipline. So it's how the teacher manages the classroom. A well-managed classroom is task-oriented and predictable, so going along with routines and stuff like that. Ineffective teachers, they begin the first day of school attempting to teach a subject, so then they don't know the procedures and the tasks that they're going to need to know for the future. So they just, the rest of the school year is just running after the students because they didn't set ground rules from the beginning. And the effective teachers, they spend most of the first 2 weeks just going over the procedures so that they can be able to learn in the future. Like she already said, what is done in the first day of class, or even the first couple minutes, and that can go along with even just in the beginning of class every day, can make or break the teacher. And the Wongs believe that the school is where the students go to be to learn how to be productive citizens. So not only are they going to learn, but they're learning how to be like just great people in general, I guess. And it should be challenging and exciting, thought-provoking, and so the structure can ensure success for the students. You can't give students self-esteem, but you can ensure that they find the success in school. They also believe that teaching is a highly skilled craft that can be learned, so anyone can be a teacher. The more capable the teacher, the more successful the student is. good teachers enhance the life and the spirits of the students that they teach. So once again, they're not only going on the content, they're focusing on the well-being of the students also. So a question that you could ask is, what must I know that will help me accomplish what I need to do? And it's important to start class immediately and not take a roll until later. That way it kind of sets the tone for the whole class. And the more students work together responsibly, the more they learn. So shorter assignments are more important, and asking questions after a few directions instead of giving all the directions first, so then they can, you know that they're retaining the information. And they usually learn more from activity and questions approach rather than just focusing on lecturing and textbooks. And those who teach will never cease to learn.
It's an important role of the teacher to assess the student's knowledge. This goes along with student evaluation and student testing. If a student does not know the information, it's not the student's fault. The teacher has to take responsibility for ensuring that their students are learning the material. In order to assess the students properly, it's important to use the criterion reference test. The Wongs, in relation to discipline, they believe that class rules indicate the behavior that you expect from the students. In order to provide a safe and effective learning environment, you need to establish these rules at the beginning of the year. These rules of behavior set limits, just like in a game. These limits are there for the students to follow so they don't overstep these boundaries and are able to learn in a safe environment. Consequences should be attached to these rules, both positive for complying with the rules and negative for misbehaving. And make sure you explain your discipline plan, the rules, and the consequences both on the first day of school. First day of class is very important that you do establish these procedures. Make sure you have your classroom ready for instruction. Make it an inviting learning environment. On the first day, you should be prepared. Have your students assigned seats. Position yourself near the students at the front of the room so that you are able to establish yourself as in a teacher's role. Make sure that there's consistency within the room, that there's a place within the room that they can go to pick up their assignments as soon as they walk into class, so they can immediately start working this cuts down on misbehavior greatly. During the first week, two most important things you must teach are discipline and the procedures of the classroom. If you do this the first week, your misbehaviors for the rest of the school year are going to greatly decrease, and it's going to help you in the long run. Make sure you explain your discipline plan to students and put it in effect immediately on the first day. Say your procedures and begin rehearsing them. Be prepared for these misbehaviors before they even happen. Even with a good management plan, teachers need a disciplined approach with the students. It's all about being prepared. It's really the most important part when dealing with these behaviors. Without one, you're really setting yourself up for failure, because your students are just going to take advantage of you more and more as the year goes on. And the Wongs don't have a particular discipline plan that you should use, but they do recommend that you develop one that's suited for you as a teacher, and you make sure that it includes rules of behavior and procedures for teaching with these rules and the consequences that are aligned with them.
Okay, so continuing on about the discipline plan, you should think through carefully the kind of behavior you expect from students, write your expectations as rules, and post them the first day in class, and then go over them with students on the first day. And then they recommend that a maximum of 5 rules stated in a positive manner when possible and placed in a prominent place in the classroom so that they can always refer back to that list. And then the 5 rules that they give as examples would be follow directions the first time they're given, Raise your hand and wait for permission to speak. Stay in your seat unless you have permission to do so otherwise. Keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself, and no cursing or teasing. So with procedures, they recommend to establish good procedures, you need to do two basic things. The first is to decide what routines are necessary for the activities you will provide, and then the second is to make a list of procedural steps students must follow in order to participate in and benefit from the activities. And every time you want students to do something, they need a procedure to follow. So there's a three-step method for teaching procedures, which is basically just explain, rehearse, and reinforce. And then there's like this long list in your book, if you want to jot down the page number, page 107, of different procedures, and we found it online, which is basically just a list of different procedures and different ways to handle basically different situations. So, and then there's ways to handle like for students and for the teacher. Then going back to the PowerPoint. How to begin class successfully. It's important to provide consistency, establish student routines and classroom procedures. Great preparation is needed to ensure a smooth first few weeks. And basically in general, throughout the entire year, I think it's necessary to have very prepared lessons if you go overtime or undertime. It's important to maintain a good learning climate, and establish relationships with parents and students is very effective in the classroom. First 10 days of school, it's important to carefully plan the first day in detail. It is better to have too much than too little planned. It's important to greet the students at the door, like how Colin said, welcome and introduce yourself to the class. Explain the daily rules, expectations, and procedures, and use a self-manager plan, which teaches students to manage their behavior responsibly. And lastly, for cooperative work groups, students typically work better in cooperative work groups than support groups. It's important to delegate each student a specific job within the group. Support buddies can help one another. Teach all students necessary group procedures and social skills. Be responsible for your own work and behavior. Ask a support buddy for help. Help other support buddies. And ask for teacher help only when support buddy cannot supply it. And then we have our reference.
Good job.